Hello and welcome to another episode of PopCulture Reacts and more from the listener suggestions. And we are going back to Immortal Technique.
It's quite a nice one, isn't it? Because it's suggestions based off. We did a double bill, didn't we? And it was your introduction to Immortal Technique. So it was nice to get people writing in the comments about other things that hopefully they think we will like, but certainly good examples of what he does. So
Yes.
We love the suggestions. We love the comments of the videos we've done.
Yes, and there was a lot of suggestions. There are going to be a few more Immortal Technique videos coming out.
Yeah, we're trying to kind of space them out a bit unless we fancy a cheeky double bill and things like that. But it's got a lot. I mean, probably of any of the hip hop ones we've done, it's the most that where people have said, no, you need to listen to this, this, and this, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is The Poverty of Philosophy. Is it one that you know?
Yes, but not massively, if that makes sense. I have heard it, but it was a while ago. So when you look at wide-eyed surprise on me, that tells you how bad my memory is. Sometimes I heard stuff before, but I think you will like it.
So, are we ready to have some truth thrown at us?
I think this is a non-video one, isn't it? So
yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Let's do this.
Let's go.
Most of my Latino and black people who are struggling to get food, clothes, and shelter in the hood are so concerned with that philosophizing about freedom and socialist democracy is usually, unfortunately, beyond their rationale. They don't realize that America can't exist without separating them from their identity. Because if we had some sense of who we really are, there's no way in hell we'd allow this country to push its genocidal consensus on our homelands. This ignorance exists, but it can be destroyed. Niggas talk about change and working within the system to achieve that. The problem with always being a conformist is that when you try to change the system from within, it's not you who changes the system, it's the system that will eventually change you. There is usually nothing wrong with compromising a situation, but compromising yourself in a situation is another story completely. And I have seen this happen long enough in the few years that I've been alive to know that it's a serious problem. Latino America is a huge colony of countries whose presidents are cowards in the face of economic imperialism. You see, third world countries are rich places, abundant in resources, and many of these countries have the capacity to feed their starving people and the children we always see digging for food and trash on commercials. But plutocracies, in other words, a government run by the rich, such as this one, and traditionally oppressive European states, force the third world into buying overpriced, unnecessary goods while exporting huge portions of their natural resources. I'm quite sure that people will look upon my attitude and sentiments and look for hypocrisy and hatred in my words. But my revolution is born out of love for my people, not hatred for others. You see, most of Latinos are here because of the great inflation that was caused by American companies in Latin America. Aside from that, many are seeking a life away from the puppet democracies that were funded by the United States. Places like El Salvador, Guatemala, Peru, Colombia, Nicaragua, Ecuador, and la República Dominicana. And not just Spanish-speaking countries either, but Haiti and Jamaica as well. As different as we have been taught to look at each other by colonial society, we are in the same struggle. And until we realize that, we'll be fighting for scraps from the table of a system that has kept us subservient instead of being self-determined. And that's why we have no control over when the embargo will stop in Cuba or when the bombs will stop dropping in Vieques. But you see, here in America, the attitude that is fed to us is that outside of America, there live lesser people. Fuck them, let them fend for themselves. No, fuck you. They are you. No matter how much you want to dye your hair blonde and put fake eyes in, or follow an anorexic standard of beauty, or no matter how many diamonds you buy from people who exploit your own brutally to get them, no matter what kind of car you drive, or what kind of fancy clothes you put on, you will never be them. They're always gonna look at you as nothing but a little monkey. I'd rather be proud of what I am rather than desperately try to be something I'm really not, just to fit in. And whether we want to accept it or not, that's what this culture or lack of culture is feeding us. I want a better life, for my family and for my children, but it doesn't have to be at the expense of millions of lives in my homeland. We're given the idea that if we didn't have these people to exploit, that America wouldn't be rich enough to let us have these little petty material things in our lives and basic standards of living. No, that's wrong. It's the business giants and the government officials who make all the real money. We have whatever they kick down to us. My enemy is not the average white man. It's not the kid down the block or the kids I see on the street. My enemy is the white man I don't see. The people in the White House, the corporate monopoly owners, fake liberal politicians. Those are my enemies. The generals of the armies that are mostly conservative. Those are the real motherfuckers that I need to bring it to. Not the poor, broke, country-ass soldier that's too stupid to know shit about the way things are set up. In fact, I have more in common with most working and middle-class white people than I do with most rich black and Latino people. As much as racism bleeds America, we need to understand that classism is the real issue. Many of us are in the same boat, and it's sinking, while these bougie motherfuckers ride on the luxury liner. And as long as we keep fighting over kicking people out of the little boat we're all in, we're gonna miss an opportunity to gain a better standard of living as a whole. In other words, I don't want to escape the plantation. I wanna come back, free all my people, hang the motherfucker that kept me there, and burn the house to the goddamn ground. I wanna take over the encomienda and give it back to the people who work the land. You cannot change the past, but you can make the future. And anyone who tells you different is a fucking lethargic devil. I don't look at a few token Latinos and black people in the public eye as some type of achievement for my people as a whole. Most of those successful individuals are just sellouts and house Negroes. But I don't consider brothers a sellout if they move out of the ghetto. Poverty has nothing to do with our people. It's not in our culture to be poor. That's only been the last 500 years of our history. Look at the last 2,000 years of our existence and what we brought to the world in terms of science, mathematics, agriculture, and forms of government. You know, the idea of a confederation of provinces where one federal government controls the states? The Europeans who came to this country stole that idea from the Iroquois League. The idea of impeaching a ruler comes from an Aztec tradition. That's why Montezuma was stoned to death by his own people, because he represented the agenda of white Spaniards once he was captured, not the Aztec people who would become Mexicans. So in conclusion, I'm not gonna vote for anybody just because they black or Latino. They have to truly represent the community and represent what's good for all of us proletariat. Porque si no, entonces te mando pa'l carajo, cabrón, gusano, hijo de puta. Seramos libres pronto. ¡Viva la revolución! ¡Viva la revolución!
Dropping fucking truth bombs there.
Well, so, you know, like when we talked beforehand, and we actually did like a little bit of chat before we come on here, we were talking about kind of Immortal Technique as an artist, and we'd said it, obviously, like when we did freedom of speech, it was very much about freedom of speech, surprise, surprise, but kind of that ran against corporations and the music industry, but generally kind of institutions that hold people back. And then, of course, we went into Dance with the Devil, which is like that uber dark, gritty tale about let's go with what it's like growing up in gangs and a desire to live a life that probably will never have a good endpoint. And before this one started, that's why it's kind of evasive, because this one's very different, isn't it? Like this one is a kind of free-form essay to music, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And an impassioned free-formed essay about his thoughts and feelings. So yeah, I kind of didn't want you to know that before we went into it, because I just thought let's let it happen to you, if that makes sense, because it is very different to even what we've seen from him before. But Go, what did you think?
Yeah, it is truth bombs. That is just literally they're spelling it out in a way that I don't like to use the word ignorant to, but people are blind to some of those factors of where people sit in society, and you know, being pushed down by the elite to hold down the masses. Obviously, we're not going to go on a full political rant here, but yeah,
I mean, you're right. I mean, like going for and I will say to be fair to yourself as well. There is a ton of content in there, isn't there? You know, like forget even the story of Dance with the Devil, but like this is content, and to be able to even take in, I think 10 to 15% of that on first listen is asking a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
But having said that, you're right. I think at the very least, it probably leans to a degree to our political proclivities anyway, in our thoughts and feelings about so many things, certainly things around inequality, poverty, but of course with that lens that we don't have, you know, with that lens of culturally how that poverty might have been thrust upon people. But I think that's where it really comes into its own for me is um, I guess if I was going to break it down into like a small sort of bite-sized chunk of going, but but as much as that is there and the root causes are there need to be acknowledged, it can't be used as just an ultimate kind of get out. You know, there are ways, there are means. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, it's I could easily see someone on a podium doing that as a rallying speech, as much as it being done to music for the purpose of obviously, as I say, entertainment, but I guess edutainment.
Yeah, I was gonna say this. I'm definitely thinking that I'm gonna listen to more of him because you know it isn't so much rap. I think I said it, on the previous one of his that we've done. This is modern beat poetry,
Yes, yeah, yeah,
and you know there there is stuff here that because of it having the hip hop beat behind it and it being shown as rap, that the younger generation will then listen to it and hopefully learn
yeah.
from it
I mean,
and be more
I know.
accepting
Sorry.
so just being more accepting of the message coming in that form rather than going to a meeting or a rally or it being from a teacher or something like that. It's
Well, I mean, like, let's be honest though. Like, you know, I'm aware of listening to it, of going. Some of his thoughts, feelings, and opinions will be like the antithesis of what other people would, and I think would be critiqued quite heavily for that. But for me, I think it's about using the platform you have. Now, when I say the platform you have, like for me, the platform he created, you know, well, not handed this, and you know, very much that rejection of recording in that traditional way, because what he had to say to him was more important than the making the big money, getting
bling bling,
and I think that's
drugs and hoes.
I think that's why he has a bit more sustainability than a lot of other artists. Is that when you quite a thing in hip hop obviously is, you know, people are same as, and not just hip hop, but like in so many games, like it is the I'm in poverty and how do I get out of this? And that passion comes through. And unfortunately, what often happens is then those people do get out of poverty, don't they? And
Yeah,
unfortunately, the kind of the passion that spoke to me goes. Whereas, yes, I think that the message is the most important thing for him here. And yeah, I'll go back to that platform thing. I think I would much rather more people use the platform they have to try to inform. Now, as I say, I'm sure someone who totally disagrees with his point of view might say no, but this is where music can be massively powerful, isn't it? You know,
yeah,
we talk about songs that we love and we want something creative and interesting and something that kind of fires us up on that creative level. But also, I think this shows the power of what music can be used for. And my hats off to him. And yeah, as I say, you know, we talked about him on previous shows and we talked about him offline. I think never not thought provoking, which I think
yeah,
people I want that. I want musicians that make me think about the world, or even just challenge my views of it, or make me consider a different view of it. My proclivities might lean there, but there's so much stuff in here where you kind of go, yeah, I've never really thought about it like that. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yes, I like this. It speaks to me on my thought level of how I think the world should be a fairer place and stuff. So yeah, it well and truly is. I am the target audience really for what he's saying. Though,
Yeah, I guess there's a question, isn't there, around that of going, and I say, are we the target audience? But is this only actually hitting its target audience? Because I think again that would be a shame. Because I say you want it to not only be thought provoking, but maybe leading you a little bit further down the path you are, or pulling you back if you're even further down
yeah,
the path than this. But would it actually provoke thought in someone who fundamentally has never thought about these as concepts, or would have gone into it going the other way, maybe chasing that, well, I want to be the person on top, not the person down the bottom, and willing to abuse those people on the bottom to get what they want. But God, like, if you're brave enough in the comments to say, oh yeah, I'm a right bastard, but this changed me, then feel free.
So as always, comments down there, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And until next time, viva la revolution.